Fearless female, Rebecca Rosen, take one. Hi, I'm Janet Gunn, and I'm here with Focus TV, and I'm so thrilled to introduce my next guest. It's Rebecca Rosen. She's a spiritual medium. She is a messenger between the living and the departed. She's an inspirational speaker, an internationally best-known author, and today she's here to share her latest book with us, What the Dead Have Taught Me About Living Well. Hi, Rebecca.
Hi, it's so wonderful to be here.
Oh, thank you so much. I
Oh,
just absolutely
pleasure.
loved your book.
Thank you.
I read it from cover to cover, and it's so real and it's authentic, and I love it because you've actually made it possible for people like me, all of us, to understand that we can also be messengers and we can receive this information.
Absolutely. I always tell people nobody is closer to your own team spirit, your departed loved ones, angels and guides, and your own intuition than you are.
Yeah.
And so one of my missions has been to empower people to stop looking outside of themselves for the answers and to hold their hand and show them how I figured out how to do so for myself.
And by the way, how did you figure it out? How did how did the spirits choose you, or did you choose them?
That's a great question. So this is clearly a combination of both. This was my soul signing up to step into this. But on a mind level, when I was 20 years old, I had no idea. That's, I would say man plans and God laughs. My plan was I was getting an advertising degree. I was in college, and all of a sudden one day, my dead grandmother starts talking to me. So I'm hearing in my own mind's voice her words, and I'm channeling them, writing them down in a journal. Well, naturally, I think I'm going crazy.
Yeah.
And she gave me so much information and proof it was really her when I took the information back to my father and he confirmed it. And so for 2 full years, she basically worked with me to heal myself from the inside out. I was going through a depression, and I had been praying for some outside guidance. I didn't know what I was praying to, but it turned out she was my spirit guide at the time on assignment to help me. My grandmother unfortunately took her life when I was 10 years old. And so she was here to balance out that karma. And so I do believe that was part of my destiny and perhaps hers. But in the end, after 2 years of doing the work, I then surrendered, and I had been at that point healed. And I was available to then use my gift to share it with others to help them find that same healing.
And so when you were receiving the information, did you know right away? I mean, were you open to it, and was it tugging on you all the time?
I wasn't not open to it, but I wasn't into the paranormal psychic stuff at all. And so I was very skeptical. And that's why I always tell the people I work with, it's healthy to be skeptical until you have evidence to know you can trust the information coming through. Or that I know people can trust me, but they need to know that, right?
Yeah.
And so with my angels and spirit guides and grandmother, I kept saying, prove it. And over time, of course, they did. And now 20 years later, it's a knowing. But it's, that is part of my mission, and sharing this work, demonstrating it to help others find a deeper, authentic faith for themselves, that this is real and that we all have access to it.
You talk about in your book that you struggled with depression. You have anxiety, you have worry over money, you have body image issues. You're just like all of us.
Absolutely.
So you make it so real and easy to relate to you. But how do you have that, and then you have 6 children?
I do.
That's just a whole nother show, okay?
Please tell me about it. My life is very real, I assure you, right?
It's so real. So what do
Yeah.
you do in the midst of that chaos, or the organized chaos? What do you do with those spirits? Because are they talking to you while your children are talking to you, while your husbands,
Yes.
your employees, everybody? Where are the boundaries?
Ask the spirit world, because clearly they don't know boundaries. There's a lot of moving parts in my world, for sure. And I joke that the spirits like to use me as a guinea pig to pass on important lessons to the people I work with. I'm not immune to life's challenges, right? I am the first to go through them. And the beauty of it is I have this amazing gift I have this very strong line to the other side, and I have learned how to use it to help make sense of my inner and outer world. The spirits are always there. They're not going away. I say energy is energy. It doesn't die. It changes form. And so this energy is constantly around us. It's like radio waves. So the deal is, what I either tune into it or I tune it out. And it's kind of like just, sometimes your kids are mommy, 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 and you just start to tune it out because you hear it all the time. Yeah. That's what I do with these dead people. There's a time and place for me to be available to the other world. And when I'm here as a mom or a wife or a friend, I need to be fully me. Okay. I have what I call my Becky and my Rebecca. Okay. And they know when I'm wearing the Rebecca hat, I'm all ears. Okay. And I'm available to channel for them. But when I'm not, I'm closed for business.
Okay, that answers the question. That was one of my biggest questions when I was reading your book. It's like, how in the world do you rest?
I know.
There's got to be some cutoff time where you can actually decompress. And have you ever encountered any spirits that want to return?
Oh yeah, often. I fully believe in reincarnation. Okay. What I've heard from the other side is that there's no rush to jump back into a body. This is Earth school. And then when we cross over, it's like summer vacation, right? Some of us want to enjoy that summer vacation. So why would we jump back into the next grade and come back to school right away? But there are oftentimes, I'll do readings for people where the soul of their future baby is coming through. And in some way, shape, or form, I'm able to validate that. And sometimes it was their great-grandmother who is saying she's going to come back as their future daughter. Okay, and they can usually confirm they have some strong connection to that spirit. But oftentimes that's not why the spirit world is coming to me. They're not talking about reincarnation or coming back. They're usually trying to help the living make sense of all their struggles and challenges, and to let them know they're not alone in going through it.
And you also talk about in your book just the meditation and creating that time where there's quietness, because that's when we can receive those messages. And actually, have you ever found yourself where you've prevented danger?
Yes. In fact, the spirits always bring through information that's healing and helpful, never hurtful or harmful. So if there's ever predictive information about the future, and it is in a sense scary or just maybe bothersome, it's intended to be helpful because knowledge is power. So often, for example, I told a woman who was probably in her mid to late 60s, and she came for a reading with her daughter who is in her 30s, and their dad, who is alive, I said, one of your spirits is coming through saying your husband, your father, has major heart issues and he needs to go get it checked out now. Well, they said, yeah, right, he's never going to believe this. Fast forward a week later, they told him, he poo-pooed it and, called me the crazy psychic chick. He collapsed. He collapsed on the floor of, a near heart attack. I mean, and he went in and they said he was 99% blocked. Bottom line, he lived. And the doctor said, you are really lucky. Had he listened to the guidance, maybe it would not have gone that far. Maybe he would have, prevented that.
Yeah.
However, in the end, he was okay. So yes, the spirits are there to look out for us, especially if it's not our time to leave this world.
Okay. Yeah, I feel that a lot. I mean, I'd always say, oh, thank you, whoever it is at that time. If I've avoided a situation or in the car, it's like, oh, thank you.
The other day I was driving with my husband, and I made it a point. This was Saturday. I was meditating, and I was calling an Archangel Michael and bubbling. It's something I do every morning. I call it getting spiritually dressed for the day. And I put a protective bubble of white light around me, so that my intention is, I am going to put out love and light and receive love and light. And I'm going to bypass all the frenetic, fear-based energy, right? So we're driving back from the car dealer. We had to go down for some reason. And as we're talking about, the car, a woman is speeding. We can see it in the rearview mirror behind us, about to rear end us at full force. And I'm just like, Archangel Michael, protect us. She slammed on her brakes. She was that close to hitting us. And I attribute it to the bubble of light, right? So there's a way to use these tools,
Yeah.
right, and the connection to the other side to live your best life and to feel protected.
Yeah. That's what it does, and it feels like protection. It's like an armor, like you say,
Yes.
put your armor on,
Yeah.
your spiritual armor before you walk out the door.
We all get physically dressed for the day. It makes sense to get spiritually dressed as well.
Yes.
You know, you do your part. You set the intention.
Yeah.
You call it in, and then you let go. And
Yeah.
you trust that, you know what, you've done your part, and you trust the universe will show up and do its part.
And when you receive the information, does it, because I picture your mind just being like the Matrix, where it's just data is just flowing in. And do you see? Do you hear? Do you feel? Do you smell? What
All of
happens?
it. I do it all. Wow. You know, it's a very involved process because the spirits are throwing thoughts and feelings into your mind and body all at the same time, and it comes through those clairsenses. So clairvoyance is the most common one, where in your mind's eye, you're seeing like a mental movie. At the same time, at clairaudience, I'm hearing John. So I'm like, all right, do they say John? And then at the same time, I'm feeling this tremendous like tragedy or loss. So it's a very complicated deal, and I'm still learning. I'll probably be learning this, what I call my sign language, until the day I leave this world. But the more enlightened the spirits, the better communicators they are. And it makes my job a whole lot easier, because for the medium, it's like playing the game of charades. Let's show Rebecca Mickey Mouse. Then I have to figure out, what does Mickey Mouse mean? Does it mean there's a mouse in the house? Does it mean Disneyland? Does it mean somebody has big ears? So it's very involved. So if I see Mickey Mouse in my mind's eye, I'll say, okay, what do you want me to know about Mickey Mouse? And then I'll have a flashback, they use my frame of reference, of going to Disneyland with my kids. So then I have to piece it together and bring through a meaningful message.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then when you go out, you also say in your book that how important it is and grounding it can be to walk in nature. That you can receive so much just going on a walk with your dog or going out and having your feet on the ground. You know,
what I've come to understand is nature is our closest connection to God or source. It just is.
Yeah.
Right? The grass just grows. There's a cycle, a season for everything. And there's natural negative ions out in nature. And these negative ions are actually positive, and they clear our magnetic field, our energy. And so when we walk by the ocean with all that salt water in the air, we're clearing ourselves. When we go for a hike in the mountains, right? Just sitting outside in the sun on your back porch. And so you're better able to get back to that default place that we all have, that stillness inside of us, when you can connect with the rhythm and energy of nature.
Yes. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Have the spirits shown you what the spirit world looks like?
Yes, and from my frame of reference, they show me in my meditations and in my dreams familiar places that I can identify with. And so the one time I had an out-of-body astral travel experience where literally I took a nap on the couch. This was about 17 years ago, okay? And I am literally flying over these colorful, bright islands. It looked like Hawaii. That's the closest thing I can compare it to. And it was vivid, and more than anything, I felt at home. It felt warm and healing and peaceful. And so that experience has lasted until now. It feels like yesterday. So that was a real visitation, in a sense, that my angels took me on and showed me. I've had many dreams. Everybody's heaven is going to depend on what brought them joy in life.
Yes.
Okay? I do so many readings where a dad's coming through saying, this happened the other day, his heaven is Pebble Beach Golf Course. And the woman about fell over. She said that was his favorite place. He loved golf.
Yeah.
And of course, dad is picking up at the most beautiful golf course, right? So we can create whatever that heaven or hell looks like when we cross over.
Okay. Is it made clear to us why every relationship that we had when we leave this world?
Yes, all the masks come off. I always say we are all in this together. We're all players in each other's play, and we're as souls, we're interacting to help each other to grow and evolve on a soul level. And so if somebody really hurt you in this lifetime, when you cross over, you have nothing to fear. In fact, the opposite. You're going to sit down, most likely with your team spirit, and do a life review and understand the great lessons that either came of it or were potentially able to come from that situation. And you're able to then forgive and let go of any of the unresolved issues or hurt or pain that you held on. Because the problem with being a human being, well, we're spiritual beings having a human experience, but in this body, we have a mind, the mind and the ego self, right? And that means sometimes we tend to separate and disconnect from our higher self's knowing, our soul self. And when you disconnect, life gets really hard and messy and scary, and you feel alone. And I guess the whole point in the work I do, and especially this book, is plug back in, reconnect. Because once you do, through prayer, meditation, dreams, spirit just plopping blocks of consciousness into your mind at times to help you remember what your soul knows.
Yes.
And that is, there's a rhyme, a reason, and a purpose for everything we go through, and with everyone that we go through it with.
Yes, and it makes so much sense too, because when you see babies or children with animals, you know, there's such, or you're playing the make-believe. I can remember when I was a kid, there were people there. I felt like there were people there, you know?
That was my first recollection when I was a kid. I had imaginary friends, and I vividly remember. And yes, that is us at our purest, most innocent state of being. Babies are in the present moment. Animals are in the present moment. And so spirit beings present themselves to them all the time. They see them, they feel them, they interact with them. And I'm constantly telling people through readings, by the way, your dog is seeing your dead mom in the corner. And they're like, that explains a lot. That's why the dog's acting crazy, and you know. So yes, the spirit world is constantly around, but as you grow into an adult, I think sometimes we shut off that psychic ability, and we stop believing in that magic and that whole realm that is easily available to all of us, but children naturally are connected to.
Yes. And do you feel like we're moving into a time in the world, on this planet, where there is more of an awakening?
Yes.
Oh, good.
Yes. Oh, when this awareness of my gift came to me 20 years ago, it was like coming out of the closet, because not many people were talking about psychics and mediums at that time. Nowadays, it's as common as seeing or talking about seeing a therapist.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I love it. People are becoming more open to the idea and available. And I really think there's a lot of new souls being born into this world, and have been for the last 10 years or so, that are very enlightened. They're much more advanced spiritual beings than some of us adults. I always say kids are oftentimes our greatest teachers, and sometimes they're the older souls. I just had a baby 9 months ago. She is by far the oldest soul, I think, of all of us in our family.
Yeah.
Yes. She's so content. She's like a little Buddha. She just, you know, I can tell she came here. She really found her way in. It was a miracle, and the whole story is in the book.
Yes.
But she is here to help raise the consciousness of the planet to a higher place of love, as are a lot of children and a lot of us.
Yeah. I love it. Well, I can't say enough about your book.
Thank you.
No, really, it's
appreciate that.
incredible. I just loved it. It just made me feel so inspired, and really, it gives you empowerment.
Good. I'm glad to hear you say that. So my intention was to make a part spiritual guide, part memoir, so that I could show people, again, that this is real.
Yeah.
Life is messy, right?
Yeah.
And I am all about keeping it real.
Yes.
And sometimes you cannot love and light your way through a really icky, dark situation.
Right.
Right? And so I've been there. And so how do you make sense of and start to find the gifts in all of the messiness? Because that is the whole point. Everything that happens to us happens, like I said, for a reason. And to be able to zoom out and see that broader, bigger perspective, you can then appreciate it, see the gifts, and then get on your way.
Yeah.
Right? You're able to
Yes.
move forward and live a good life.
Thank you for stopping by today. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you. This has been a great experience.
Good, I'm glad. I wish you the best success with your book.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, just what the dead have taught me about living well, even the title.
Says it all.
Great, yeah.
Right?
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.